Let me clear my throat. Hello, family. Welcome to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbie. Before we get into today's episode, if you are new to this podcast or if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel as of yet, please do so now. And also be sure to tap the notification bell for alerts when we drop a new episode. Please let us know in the comment section below this audio podcast where you're listening to us from. Also, let us know what's happening in your country, in your state, and or in your city so that we can discuss it on this platform in real time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a global community and we want to keep our listeners informed about what's going on with Black people and African people throughout the diaspora. I would like to grow, I would like for us to grow this platform to 500,000 strong. And also for us to get our film project fully funded and made so that way we can use the proceeds from the film to purchase property in Chicago, Illinois, within the Black community, and become an economic base within the Black community. Eventually, in God's timing, we will be hosting African tours, Caribbean tours, and South American tours. So that way we can move beyond cyberspace and make our presence known in cities and countries around the globe. On this platform, we are more than just talking. We will put boots on the ground and do what we can to help improve the social conditions of our people who want more out of life and who want to become GERCAM members. To learn more about business opportunities within our media component, please purchase my ebook and read my story for yourself. If you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, specifically Black Chicago, then you will automatically become a GERCAM member. I'm looking forward to connecting with many of you. And again, I thank those of you who have already supported us and this very important piece of work that we're trying to do over here. Disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only. It is based on public available reports and verified media sources. We will comply with YouTube's community guidelines. We do not promote violence, hate, or misinformation in any form. This podcast is available in two forms, audio and also as a written text, in order for us to reach our audience. Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast is our Black media component. I would like to encourage my listeners to also subscribe to my Medium page. That way you can follow along during this presentation because I post all of my speeches there. I provide my Medium transcript in the comment section below this audio podcast. Attention Black artists, African artists who are authors, comedians, poets, musicians, or entrepreneurs. I share my platform with those of you who are on my media pages or in my social groups, for example, on Facebook or LinkedIn. All you have to do is make arrangements with me to come on this platform so that way we can promote your books, your business, your music, your jokes. And if you have a small ministry, then you're more than welcome to come here and share a 30-minute sermon with my listeners from the global community. After the show, I will offer an incentive to my guest speakers by teaching them how to create their own podcast, YouTube channel, and get it monetized, as well as assist them with creating a free Wix website to launch either their online business or their online ministry. Um, and for those of you, let's say, for example, if you do not know how to use StreamYard or Zoom, make arrangements with me as well. So that way I would teach you how to use both of them. And again, you're welcome to come on this platform. Get on camera. Those of you, if you're camera shy, then we could just do a voice call. So that way people can hear your voice. But bottom line, if you're in business and you're a shy person, you're going to have to come out of that because closed mouths don't get fed. Also, those of you that I teach how to create your own podcast, and if you work hard at growing your audience, then eventually you will get sponsors who will help fund your either your online business or your online ministry. Just want to put that out there as well. Now I am available. Please mark your calendar. Thursday, April 16th, Friday, April 17th, Saturday, April 18th, Sunday, April 19th, Tuesday, April 21st, Wednesday, April 22nd, Thursday, April 23rd, Sunday, April 26th, Monday, April 27th, Tuesday, April 28th, and Thursday, April 30th from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. American Central Time. On this platform, we keep you informed and empowered from everywhere, from whatever you are at from the diaspora. Don't just watch or listen to our podcast. Join GRCAM now, ladies and gentlemen. I want to do more than just news and social commentary, but at this point, this is where I'm at. I'm unable to hire anyone at this time because, truth be told, I'm not making any money from my book sale, nor am I making any money from my virtual store. I'm just keeping a buck. And again, God give us free will. And far as I'm concerned, Black America's not serious. They don't want a solution. Because I've been reaching out to Black Americans for the past 34 years. Let me say that again and let that sink in. 34 years. And I'm still on first base, and that is unacceptable. It is. And that's why I created this platform. Because I want to be heard loud and clear. I'm beating that drum. And I'm trying to connect with like-minded Black Americans beyond Chicago, like-minded African immigrants across the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? Well, I really want to connect with Black Americans who identify as DAS-FM. That stands for Descendants of American Slaves / Freedmen. And again, I want to connect with like-minded, brave and smart African immigrants from 10 African nations. They are as follows: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. All I'm asking you to do is please purchase my ebook. It's available for $9.99 and read my story. Quote, The Solution for Black America, Reclaiming, Rebuilding, and Restoring the Urban Ghettos in America, second edition. My book is also available as a softcover book for $15 plus shipping and handling. I provide the link to my Amazon author page in the comment section below this audio podcast. Read my story for yourself if you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, then you will automatically become a GRCAM member. Now, after that, work with me. I'm also reaching out to the global African family. If you're serious about me bringing my Black Christian business to your African nation, then please help me get my book on that bestsellers list. That would put me in a better position financially so that I can hire Black people, African people, and others. I want my advisory board or resource team to have an associate's degree or above. I want Black attorneys, African attorneys, investors, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. Once we get our film project fully funded and made, and the proceeds from the film starts pouring in, then I will be in a better position financially to purchase property in Chicago, Illinois, buy office equipment, hire qualified Black middle class professionals, and qualified African immigrants. Ladies and gentlemen, um, it doesn't matter how bad I would like to get my Christian business up and running. Without financial support from the Black grassroots and the global African family, then I am unable to do my God given assignment, which is to build the best Black Christian business within the United States of America with the help of GRCAM members. And that business will be known as the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. Want to build that? That's for credibility before I cut and run to Africa. Because I'm not going to just, like, oh, I give up on this God given assignment. No. See, this is my testimony right here. I'm speaking my truth. A lot of, I would say a lot of my critics tells me, oh, Emmanuel, you shouldn't tell people you've been doing this that for that long. I'm like, well, hey, I got to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? Again, the white man is not stopping Black Americans from buying my revised book. Let's keep it a buck. The white man is not stopping Black Americans from buying items from my virtual store. The white man is not stopping Black Americans from donating to the film project. That's a personal choice. That's Willie Lynch in real time, ladies and gentlemen. And what I am up against, this is because Black Americans have become Americanized after the civil rights era. Majority of Black Americans have a narcissist attitude. They don't care about the Black community, let alone the Black youth. And many Black Americans have taken on the colonizers' ways. That's just what this is boiled down to, basically. I don't want to spend the rest of my life sitting up here trying to reach out to people that just don't care. It is what it is. That mentality is in every inner city in America. So this is why I'm reaching out to African immigrants. Those that work with me and Sister Renee will go down in history because this is what my film is going to be about. My struggle trying to build something positive and productive. Now, we already know the reports. I believe it was last year or so, said that it's 300,000 Black women have been laid off work. And I forgot the number for Black men. Well, that's because you're working for somebody else. If you work with me, help me get this thing up and running, then I would be in a better position to hire you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what this is all about. Trying to build our own. I'm glad that Black Americans are starting to wake up and starting to delineate. That's good. But bring your I would say bring your talent over here. Because we're gonna build this from the mud. And again, once we get this thing popping here in Chicago, I have to turn the business over because it Black Chicagoans was just extremely disrespectful, and that's unacceptable. But hey, this is what my creator want me to do. He wants me to get it started here in Chicago for credibility, and I'm gonna do the best that I can. And I wish that the power of God would reveal Himself. Connect me, Lord, with brave and smart Black people to have the means to help get this film project fully funded and made so I can move this to the next level. I'm trying. All right, let me get back to my presentation. I'm calling upon Black content creators and African content creators who have a large following. Please allow me to come on your platform so that we can so that I can speak to your audience about my revised book and my film project. After all, my Christian business is for Black millennials and Generation Z. Trying to build this for you all. I didn't have this coming up, and but this is for you all. But we have to build it, and we're gonna own it, ladies and gentlemen. This is not my burden alone. This is a shared burden that GCAM members must fix within Black society. I don't want the brand and the vision to die in America. I'm pushing this vision to the Black world. This is my contribution to Africa's rising. This year, we are determined to get this film project fully funded and made so that way we can get our story on the big screen in order to reach the Black world and the Black masses and let them know who we are and what we're trying to do for my people who identify as DAS FM, descendants of American slaves / freedmen. And that's real. That's all I'm trying to do. Upcoming events. I would like to encourage my listeners to please mark your calendar for our upcoming event. Wednesday, April 15th, we have guest speaker Archbishop Dr. Emmanuel. I do not know how to pronounce his last name, so I don't want to mess it up. But anyway, he's from Kenya. Friday, April 24th, we have guest speaker Apostle Kenyatta Harris from Florida. And Wednesday, April 29th, we have guest speaker Pastor Denise B. Lawrence from Georgia. Saturday, April 25th, we're hosting our monthly virtual interactive conference. I would like to encourage 5 people from one of my social media sites to be on our panel, either from my Facebook page, my Instagram page, my TikTok page, my LinkedIn page, or my X page. If you're interested in being on my panel, then please send me a message to my inbox from one of those sites along with your email address so that I can email you specific instructions about being on this panel. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are unable to participate on our monthly virtual interactive conference on YouTube Live, then please listen to the replay, leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast. And most of all, please share this audio podcast with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. If you want to be on the panel but don't know how to use StreamYard or Zoom, again, make arrangements with me, and I will be willing to teach you how to use both of them. After the panel discussed the topic, then I will drop the StreamYard link in the chat room open for Q&A. So the theme, GRCAM members worldwide, please stand up. When are we going to get this film project fully funded and made? And yes, I'm putting that out. I'm putting everybody on blast. For example, I got a lot of people that's on my Facebook Christian group, Light of the World Inspirational Group, and Christian Spoken Word Network. I need you all to step up. Don't just be on my friends list or in my social groups just to be seen. Because bottom line, mark my words, once I start making money, hiring people, making films, making a positive impact in the Black community, everybody's going to want to come out the woodworks then and claim they want to be a part of us and all that stuff. Ain't nothing changing on my end, ladies and gentlemen. Those who have rejected my vision and plan for the past 34 years will not be part of my business, and that include my family members that I know of. I don't know all my family members, but the ones that I know of. I don't fall into that philosophy about keep your enemies close. That's dumb. That's dumb as heck. For me, I love my enemies. The farther away they are from me, I love them the more because I don't have to see them. I'm just letting you know. All right. And so I'm calling out people that's in my Christian groups. Again, Light of the World Inspirational Group. I need you all to step up. Come on this platform. If you're camera shy, then leave comments in the comment section then. But don't wait until I blow up and then you want to come around. Because again, I'm not looking for friends. Read my story for yourself so you'll know who you're dealing with. I do not operate like the next black man. I have my own style and way of doing things, and I stand on what I talk about. I've been standing on Black business for the past 34 years, and it is what it is. But once I'm able to get this business up and running and I turn it over to my advisory board or resource team and come to Africa, I'm only going to focus on African issues. And I'm going to replicate the same business. And again, those that's not part of us, we'll pray for them, we'll show them tough love, and we will keep it moving. They want to be a slave to the white man, that's on them. We ain't playing that garbage over here. Oh yes, let me just say this too. My secular groups, let's say GRCAI of Africa, GRCAI of Chicago, Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast group on Facebook. All the other, matter of fact, all of my social groups, Christian and secular. I need you all, the members, to stand up because I don't want us to just be, we're not on here to hide behind no computer. I'm here to recruit people. That's the whole reason I wrote my book. My book is the foundation of my Christian business, and the code for all GRCAM members is all the principles in my revised book. That's the code for GRCAM members. So it is what it is. Where? YouTube Live when Saturday, April 25th, time 2 p.m. American Central Time, 3 p.m. Canadian Time, 8 p.m. West African Time, 9 p.m. South African Time, 10 p.m. East African Time, and 8 p.m. UK Time. Title of this presentation: DAS FM, ADOS, and FBA. Same lineage, different ideology. GRCAM assisting the global Black family in targeting reparations to their Pacific claim, and Fulton County Reparations Task Force release its findings. First topic: DAS FM, ADOS, and FBA, same lineage, different ideology. In this episode, we break down DAS FM, ADOS, and FBA. We have the same lineage but different ideology. Let's start with FBA, which stands for Foundational Black Americans. It falls under Tariq Nasheed's camp. I have two issues with FBA. One issue is they argue back and forth with African immigrants and Afro Caribbeans all day long for likes and clicks. And I understand that's not healthy and that's not produced. And, that caused some type of diaspora wars. So that's not cool at all. I'm just saying. Another issue I have with FBA is that Tariq Nasheed promotes hoodoo, which is another form of voodoo, and that goes against my spiritual beliefs. His views on reparation, I am 100% in support of, but everything else, I keep my distance from. In contrast, ADOS, which stands for American Descendants of Slavery. They identify themselves as descendants of enslaved Africans from its colonial period onward. The term grew out of the hashtag ADOS, created by Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell. The ADOS movement focused on demanding reparations for the systematic enslavement in the United States of America. They advocate for colleges and universities, employers, and the federal government to prioritize ADOS and argue that minority programs like affirmative action, originally designed to help ADOS, have been used to benefit other groups who fall into the minority categories, such as white women, Asians, Latinos, East Indians, etc. ADOS argued that they should have their own program just for them and also on the census forms, and should not be lumped with other Black groups such as African immigrants, Afro Caribbeans, and Afro Latinos. I reached out to Antonio Moore several times to try to get him to come on my podcast. And at that time, I was on Blog Talk Radio, which now, they shut that down. But then back then, I was trying to get him to come on my show. And he kept, avoiding my emails and all that stuff. So I noticed during the 2020 election, Antonio Moore advised his listeners to vote down ballot Democrat, which means vote blue no matter who. I was encouraging Black voters at that same time to demand economic tangibles in exchange for our votes. So I did my own research about his movement. Since we both were in agreement about closing the wealth gap, so that's what that's what made me get interested in trying to, see if me and him our organizations could work together. But, like I say, he was avoiding me and all that stuff. And then he's, tied in with the Democrats. So, I just kind of backed off. And come to find out, Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell hijacked the term from a brother named Norris Shelton, founder of Descendants of American Slaves. They just rearranged the wording. That's all. I identify as DAS FM, which stands for Descendants of American Slaves / Freedmen. I am the founder and president of GCAM, which stands for the Grassroots Community Activist Movements. And basically, our last fight as Black Americans, our last fight here in America is for reparations. But we do not have to be in America to fight for reparations, because you have American companies on the African continent. So, you know what I'm saying? But like I say, it's been very disrespectful here in Chicago. I have little to no support here, but I'm just trying to help my people. You know what I'm saying? Those that identify as DAS FM, descendants of American slaves slash freedmen, and those that want more out of life. And we want to focus on the low income Black community, the middle class Black community, and um, the upper class Black community. They don't need our assistance. They are fine. They don't have all these problems. They don't have the constant genocide that's going on, because the higher your economic opportunities are, the less crime it is, because you can afford to do things. These are economic crimes that's taking place in the inner cities. And so, I'm just trying. That's where I came from. You know, uh, I'm from the hood, but I'm not from the streets. But I am streetwise. I did 2 years street ministry. It was fine, but this is my real calling. It's I've been on YouTube. I'm grateful to be on YouTube. For uh, I'm gonna say 16 years. All right, since 2010, and I want to be able to at least get 500,000 subscribers. Grow this platform, but eventually for us to own our own media outcome. Or let's say website. I want us to have a physical building, brick and mortar, um, and make our presence known in the community. That's all I'm trying to do. Um, so I'm called by my Lord and Savior, Jesus slash Joshua, to build the best Black Christian business within the United States of America, known as Gurkai of Chicago, the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago, with the help of Gurkai members. My God given assignment is to rebuild Black Chicago, similar to that of Nehemiah, who was called by God to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Nehemiah used qualified engineers, architects, and inventors to rebuild a new city. I am seeking qualified Black middle class professionals and qualified African immigrants to be on my board of directors, or, to be on my advisory board or resource team. They must have a 2-year degree or above in the following areas: um, Black attorneys, African attorneys, investors, real estate, um, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. In contrast, as it pertains to our film project, I'm looking for legitimate artists such as film directors, producers, actors, stage managers, professional fundraisers, technical directors, and marketers who can come to Chicago. I need boots on the ground, because this is where the story is. You know what I'm saying? This is where I'm at. I need someone to play my role. I need someone to play Sister Renee's role. Um, I'd like for them to join our film project. Those of you that have read my story and that's in agreement, and you feel led, and you feel that you got the talents and skills to make this happen, then make yourself known to me. Don't wait until I'm dead. Work with me while I am alive, ladies and gentlemen. Right? Gurkam has 3 membership levels: a basic membership, network membership, and an entrepreneur membership. I discussed this in detail during our monthly virtual interactive conference, so you have to wait until then. Go into it. Our mission: to help clean up the low income Black community by eradicating urban violence in Chicago through art, culture, commerce, spiritual development, and hosting African tours, Caribbean tours, and South American tours. Advocate for Black Americans who identify as DAS FM, descendants of American slaves slash freedmen. Promote Black economic empowerment, education, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and economic stability. Promoting healthcare access and promote civic engagement and advocate for lineage policies and social justice. We will promote economic opportunities in the Black community and as well as build a bridge between the African immigrant community. We also want to become an economic base in the Black community or the low income Black neighborhoods. The Chi of Chicago will be a multi purpose facility consisting of a nonprofit sector as well as a for profit sector operating under 9 functions within the Black community. So, number one, we have a social service component. Number two, a spiritual component, which will be optional for secular people. Number three, a political component. We're going to teach our members and students the importance about politics. Very important. A lot of Black people don't like that stuff, but it is what it is. This is how we're going to learn how to get tangibles from these politicians. But you got to learn about politics in order to do that. Also, I want to stress that your CAM is we're nonpartisan, we're independent, and we're not affiliated with anyone. We're not Democrats, we're not Republicans. I prefer that we are, I would say, independent. They're going to have to fight for our vote over here. And that's why I want to teach my members and students. We're going to have a entertainment component, an entrepreneur component, a health and wellness component, a Black grassroots media component, a science and technology component, and a travel and tourism component. Under the for-profit business sector, will be known as the Red Zone. We will offer state-of-the-art recreational center, which will have a bowling, high ropes adventures, captivating game rooms featuring the latest video and amusement, stylish billboards, energetic dance rooms, and quality restaurants. Various businesses, on-site childcare, and an on-site music recording studio for our members and students making documentary films and stage plays. In addition, we will host family-friendly activities, including combination deals, birthday parties, weddings, and corporate parties slash events. We will practice group economics in real time by pooling our resources together in order to create and control our own community grocery store, community healthcare clinic, and community housing because all of us need food, healthcare, and shelter, which will always create jobs for our members and our people, ladies and gentlemen. And and you ask me, why is it taken? Or let's say a Native African can be asking me, Emmanuel, so why is it taking you so long to get Black Americans to work with you? And I just break it down to them. Simple. Because the majority of them have a slave mentality. That's all. They don't want to see me have a successful Black Christian business. Even my own family like that. They tell me, oh man, you should leave that Black stuff alone. You should focus on getting a real job. Anybody tell me that garbage, we will remain strangers for life. And family members that told me that garbage, I don't talk to them. I keep my distance. You're not going to poison my mind. I'm trying to build for self. They ain't trying to work for no white man. How you gonna be free and you sitting up here working for them? You know what I'm saying? And the thing that really turns me off the most, the dope man has more support from the black community than me. And he's selling his street drugs laced with fentanyl, a way to kill you off even faster. Lord have mercy on my racial group. Just have mercy on them. Please just speed up the process. I'm getting up in age doing this. This pushing this thing, Lord, ever since I was in my 21 years old. Still on first base. It's such a turnoff. Yes, I would leave this stuff alone in a heart attack, but I'm faithful to this. This is bigger than myself. And I want to make sure that CAM members would never have to endure this type of foolishness. So help me God. We separate ourselves from these off-code Negroes, and that's real. Over here. All right, so let me go back to what I'm saying. This is an example of group economics and, you know, in action. We will offer rental space for our members who have gone through our business workshops and seminars. Under the nonprofit cooperative, we are a certified 501c3 nonprofit, faith-based and community-based community advocacy organization. We're dedicated to opening the world of inner city youth through local cultural immersions, career development, and skill buildings, and again, eventually hosting African and Caribbean tours. Our objective is to invest in Black youth, African youth through our business, access to culture, Black economic empowerment, and transforming power by becoming global citizens. We understand that active participation and hands-on experience are crucial for effective learning and personal growth. Through a variety of engaging activities, workshops, and collaborative projects, we will foster an environment where our students can actively explore, question, and discover the world. Right? Again, at this point, all I'm trying to do is encourage my listeners worldwide to please help get my ebook on that bestsellers list, but read my story first and see if this is something that you want to be involved with. Again, I'm very selective. I don't want anybody. You know what I'm saying? Just because they melanated. You will be vetted. Because I do not associate. I'm not saying that I'm better. That's these small-minded people that just want to have something to complain about. They say, Emmanuel, you need to lower your standards. I'm not trying to hear that garbage. Over here, we're raising the bar. Don't come around me when I start making money and all that stuff, because ain't nothing changing. Shoot, you know what I'm saying? I require that thumbprint in my business. Everybody has to submit their thumbprint that's 18 years old and above. So we can weed out people that would try to undermine us. It's always usually our own off-code Negroes. You really have to watch out for those people. So let me see what else I need to be saying here. So Grekai Chicago will raise the bar in Black America. We will separate ourselves from the enemy within, which is con artists, the Black Boule, degenerates, Democrat shields, hardened criminals, pedophiles, off-code Negroes, and urban terrorists. That's what we want to do, separate ourselves. Make our presence known On the west side of Chicago, we will cover Austin, Garfield Park, and North Lawndale, and eventually expand to the south side of Chicago. I want to make Chicago a model for inner cities across the United States. Now, again, since Chicago been acting funny style with me for the past 34 years, once we get it up and running, I'm turning it over to my um, advisory board, and I'm going to make my presence known in South Africa, and that's real. I'm not going to, and I'm going to prove to African immigrants that I mean business, because yes, I'm going to apply for dual citizenship. We're going to set up Gurkai of Africa. We're going to call it Gurkai of South Africa, to be precise. So, and we're going to shoot our second film, and that will be African Liberator, Battle Against the Colonized Mindset. You know, but again, we will have protocol in place to let con artists and anyone that want to try to undermine us know that there will be consequences. So read my book in order to find out what those consequences are, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, there's a lot of scammers that's online and everywhere. But over here, I want to make sure that we hold scammers accountable and we do not associate with them at all. And that's real. Over here, we're not the church, whomsoever will let them come. Over here, we separate. And again, there's consequences. I'm just putting it out there. So this business, we are M1, meaning we are melanated first. Nothing else on earth matters. Our goal while I'm here in America is to solve Black issues, point blank. When I come to South Africa and set up Gurkai of South Africa, our goal will focus on solving African issues, point blank. Because I gave Black America 34 years of my life, and I'm still on first base, and this is unacceptable, and I want the Black world to know my story. Know what I'm saying? And that's just real. So in this business, non-Black sympathizers are welcome to join us, not as groups, but as individuals. During our mandatory orientation, they must say in front of all of us, where do they stand as it pertains to lineage-based cash payment reparations for descendants of slaves. I don't want to hear no long-winded answer. Neither yes, I agree, or no, I disagree. Those that disagree, they have to keep it moving. They can't be a part of us. Those that agree must pay a reparations fee. Again, I don't operate like the next Black man. It's like, be smiling, just because I have a white person, up in the business that want to join us and stuff like that. That don't excite me. Shoot, I want real justice. You know what I'm saying? And that's real. Cut that check. You know what I'm saying? That's what y'all owe. That's what reparation is about. It's about repair. It's not no handout. My ancestors were stolen. Shoot, up here minding our own doggone business, and let me just. That's why I write out my speeches and try to read it, so that way I don't start rambling. So that's just how that is. You know what I'm saying? Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Our second topic, Gurkam assisting the global Black family in targeting reparations to their Pacific claim. Because I already talked about this a couple weeks ago. When the Ghanaian brother, went to the UN and all that stuff. Yeah, it's just that y'all ain't doing your homework. You can't be fighting for the transatlantic slave reparations for the transatlantic slave trade. You can't do that. But what you can do is focus on fighting for reparation for colonization, because your people are still on the continent. That's the big difference. And um, my people, that's descendants of American slaves slash freedmen, we've been in this country for 400 years. So yeah, we might be related, but we have a different culture and all that stuff. And that's how come I'm saying in this business with Gurkam, um, I would say Black Americans and African immigrants, both of us are going to heal. Black Americans is going to heal from that slave mentality in Jesus' name. And African immigrants is going to heal from that colonized mindset. We're going to learn how to do business together. We're going to learn how to trust each other, respect each other's culture. And then we want to replicate the business to the African continent. That's all I'm trying to do. I turn the business over, and I want to make sure people know how to run the business without me being present. My goal is to get it popping on the African continent. Work with Africans that want more out of life, and that's real. I know all Africans ain't going to want to be a part of us, and that's fine. But I'm only responsible, like I say, for CAM members and their immediate family members. That's the only people I'm responsible for. All right, so the biggest fight for justice in modern history has just happened, and that was the fight for reparations. And for the first time, the global world is starting to listen. But just as this moment is gaining momentum, something else is deeply troubling. Across the Black world, from Africa, the Caribbean, South America, and Black America, everyone is demanding reparations. And that's why I want to break that down. Reparations from the United States of America only goes towards the DAS-FM, descendants of American slaves, or freedmen. FBA, Foundational Black Americans, because we're from the same lineage, basically. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I don't use the word foundational, because for me, the foundation of America is anti-Black racism. That was the foundation before the U.S. Constitution was written. I'm just saying. So that's how come I don't use that term. But yeah, and also we can tie all the so-called founding fathers, all those presidents, they had slaves. So that's what put the American government today on the hook. They can say, hey, that happened back when that was legal. Well, you guys make the doggone laws, you white supremacist financial elites. And we're going to stay on your bumper because that's a debt that's owed. And yeah, we can't make you pay us the reparation. That's true. But we don't have to do business with you neither. That's also true. And that's why I'm doing the best I can. Doing the best I can't even up and leave because I'm on a shoestring budget. If I even wanted to leave America, I can't leave. Because I ain't making no doggone money from my book sale, my idea. Good Lord. But that's okay. That's how come I talk about this stuff. Not just sitting up here talking about it. I'm trying to make it happen. But again, God gives people free will. I can't make Black Americans buy that book. It is what it is. And like I say, my film project is my last attempt. There's nothing more I can do. But I provide the solution. And that solution is for GCAM members, for us to build this thing ourselves. Reconnect with the African continent, make it pop in there as well. but separate ourselves from those that want to be slaves, that want to stay on that plantation. We can't help everybody. Those that want to stay in I would stay in a burning house, let them burn at this point. Um, okay, hold on. Just bear with me. So, okay, so nowhere was this made more clear than at the United Nations recognized slavery as one of the gravest crimes against humanity, following a historic push led by Ghana and the African Union. Instead of unity and a celebration of this historic milestone, the backlash started. Um, and it's true. I mean, you can't come to the United Nations and start, like thinking you all are going to get reparations for the transatlantic, oh, sorry, transatlantic slave trade, because a lot of, I mean, we just have to keep it a buck. The Europeans, they had collaborators, so they was catching, it was Africans that was stealing other Africans. I mean, it is what it is. That's the sad part about that. And so that's why when I come to Africa, I'm coming to South Africa first so I can get my foot on the ground. And then we're going to go to East Africa so we can have a footprint on the African continent. Then we're going to come to West Africa. But I need to speak with those African leaders, behind closed doors. I'm not going to put them on blast. I'll talk to them behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how it is. That's why I'm not coming to West Africa right away. Get the business popping in South Africa first. Because they have a similar history. They underwent apartheid. We underwent Jim Crow. It's the same thing, just a different name. So, all right. So, while we arguing, the people who actually owe the debt, the white supremacist financial elites, don't have to do anything at all. No pressure, no urgency, no consequences. So now the question is, how are we approaching this in a legal framework that leads to results? And again, I said this last time when I did this topic. I said that the president of Ghana needs to get behind Nambia, because Nambia has a claim against, Germany. And it's a legitimate claim. The Germans, they came there and posed themselves, trying to colonize, people from Nambia. And, they resisted. And then, the white supremacist financial elites, they had stronger weapons, advanced weapons. So yeah, they was able to slaughter a whole lot of people. So they slaughtered, I think I'm just guessing, I'm gonna say at least 80% of the population. That's this stuff really, it upsets me, but it is what it is. Those people, so I'm just saying that's where Africans, you divided because of the different tribes. So when I bring Gurkham to Africa, I don't want to hear about tribes. I want us to have one voice. We have to break that if you want to survive. If we lose Africa, we lose everything. So Africa belongs to its rightful owners, melanated people. So only Black Americans who identify again as DAS, FM, FBA, or even ADOS can make a claim with the U.S. government. Because again, they're on the hook because all the so-called founding fathers, they owned slaves, and we're still under that same government today. Because they can say, "Oh, that happened a long time." Well, hey, we under that Constitution. It was legal back then. Yes, it was legal because it's your laws, but you still owe. That's all. You can't get out of that, buddy. I'm going to expound on something I said about, like I say, 2 weeks ago, um, and reparations were not surprised that the United States of America, Israel, and Argentina said no. We wasn't surprised about that, and other Western powers, including Canada. The one thing the ambassador of the U.S. said, they felt that there's they are not responsible because it was legal at the time. But there was another section that the U.S. ambassador said, who would we pay reparations to? And the president of Ghana, he didn't have no response to that. When it comes to slavery reparations, we talk about the transatlantic slave trade. All descendants of slaves, whether you are a descendant of slaves from the Caribbean, descendant of slaves from the United States of America, or descendants of slaves from Latin America, specifically Brazil, people in those different countries are descendants of slaves. They are owed reparations. The problem is that we had with the wording, the Ghana president should have focused on reparation for colonization, not slavery. So that's all I'm saying. And so Ghana, Jamaica, Kenya, Nigeria, um, they can apply for reparations for colonization. Well, hold on, I have to take that back. Um, Jamaica, they can file for because they were enslaved, so they have to go through the UK. But anyway, they have CARICOM. But anyway, the ones on the continent, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa can apply for reparations for colonization from the UK, and South Africa can also can file for reparations from the Netherlands, because those are the people that colonized them, and so on and so on. And so, like I was saying, Germany, they agreed to pay Namibia $1.1 billion because of what happened. And so Germany inflicted harm to Namibia. All right. The Portuguese inflicted harm to our brothers and sisters from Brazil. So they owe reparations. So that's who they would file their claim for reparations claim against would be for Portuguese. Yeah, it gets confusing, but yeah, we have to. That's how you have to fight it. You have to fight those different former colonizers. You're gonna have to go after them that way, and it's in the history books, so that's how you know who colonized you. They brag about what they did and stuff, but now they don't want to pay you know pay that debt. But we have to stay on their bumper. That's what we're doing over here with DAS FM. You know, um, So I'm not saying that the Ghana president doesn't care about the diaspora. What I'm saying is that the African nations need to get involved with um, getting behind Nambia. That's what y'all need to do. And unify with unify on the homeland, which or the continents. Unification is not just a word. The CAM is not looking for a one-sided partnership. It has to be a two-way street. So that's what I'm saying with us. I want us to compete with Pan-Africanism, because Pan-Africanism only works for, I would say, African immigrants and Afro Caribbeans when they come to the United States. They all benefit from the struggle of the civil rights era. You know what I'm saying? But when we come to their countries, we got to come with a bag, and that's not right. But we're gonna change that perspective. But I got to get it popping here in America first for credibility. That's all. Because when I come to Africa, I want to come to Africa not not with words. I want to bring economic tangibles in the form of employment, job creation for GCAM members, and I would say Black Native Africans. You know, so we need to make sure to focus on our Pacific claims and get our reparations. Reparations is not an apology. Reparation is cash money. Reparation is also land. The black world should be fighting for reparation from the colonial powers. That's what we need to be united on and stand 10 toes down on that. All those nations that abstained, they were complicit in the slave trade and colonization. That's why they abstained. The UK stole Ghanaians' gold. They need their gold back. If they all got their gold back, that would be a form of reparations, and that would boost Ghana's economy. These white supremacist financial elites have been colonial thieves all along, and they are still doing this mess today. They have to stop. We have to stop them in just that. It's just that simple. Over here, we promote ownership and controlling our story. When America did civil rights, what happened next? Colonial powers turned over the countries back to black people, and many of them gained their independence, but many of them didn't, especially the ones under French, the 14 nations under French control. Just saying. So if we get our reparations, then you all will get your reparations too. On this platform, we're supporting each other. Once we get our film project fully funded and made, then we will teach our members and students about circulating money in the black community and in the African immigrant community, so that when you join GRCAM, we're circulating that money in the black community and the African immigrant community. When you buy my revised book, you're circulating money back into the black community, and that's what we're about over here. We're not trying to tap Dan for Bassa and hope that he will give us crumbs. I thank God for allowing me, again, for being on YouTube for 16 years. But again, I want to encourage my listeners to please subscribe to my YouTube channel, let it grow. And eventually, I'd like for us to, have our own website, have a physical building, so that way we can make our presence known in the black community. I want us to be able to get our black youth off the streets and out of gangs, and for them to live and to put money in their pockets. I would say stipends, okay? so that way they can feed their family. That's all I'm trying to do over here, y'all. That's real. Um, God called me to be set apart and chosen to do the greater works. And that's what this is. Yes, it's hard. It's not easy at all. Uh, Again, I wish this thing was up and running today, but I'm grateful that I'm still, I'm trying to do my best to move this thing forward. Uh, like I said, I just want brave and smart people to work with me and Sister Renee. Again, we want to get this film project popping now. That's what we're on. And from there, whatever the proceeds I earn, we'll take that and we'll just do what we can to, um, you know, I hire people that, qualify. That's all I can say. The crime was systematic. The ships that carried my ancestors were insured by insurance companies that are some of the richest in the world today and profit from that slave trade. The owners made money. The UK and the US government paid reparations to slave owners when slavery ended. Let me say that again. The UK and the US government paid reparations to slave owners when slavery ended, but they did not um, compensate the victims of slavery, my ancestors. And so that's how come we, you know, raising hell about that. As recently as 2015, compensation was paid. You do the research, and also I have that under show and prove, the article about the UK paying just recently finished paying compensation, you know, for slavery. But they claim it happened a long time ago. So why you still paying compensation? UK, the U.S. government, you pay reparations to the slave owners here in America. Just saying. White supremacist financial elites build ships and measurements the cargo that could maximize the amount of slaves to their destination. That was what what is reparation? Reparation is not charity, it's not aid. Reparation is an act of making amends for a wrongful act or injury, typically involving compensation in the form of money, land, or services to victims or their descendants. Their aim is to address historical injustice such as slavery, genocide, or war damages by repairing the economic and social harm caused by systems that were deliberately designed to hurt, to abuse, or exploit. And also, there's no time limit when it comes down to murder, killing people. You know what I'm saying? They hung a lot of my ancestors here in America on trees. That's how come I'm saying this stuff is just, it's just horrible. It's horrible. But life goes on. We have to keep fighting for these reparations. Reparations have happened before. The United States made payments to Native American tribes for seizing land through the Indian Claims Commission. So, those people they're not alive from the Trail of Tears, but yet, they still, what I'm saying? They got and still getting reparations to this day. The Japanese had issued compensation in various forms of wartime during World War II. Germany paid reparations to Jewish survivors after the Holocaust. Reparations are a recognized response to historical injustice. When we talk about reparation in the context of the Black world, We're not talking about a single event. We're talking about a coordinated system of economic extraction that the modern world has ever seen. It begins with the transatlantic slave trade, where millions of Africans were taken from the continent, stripped of their identity, their language, their religion, and shipped across the Atlantic Ocean to the Caribbeans, South America, and what would be known as the United States of America. They were forced to build entire economies for free. Entire nations, entire industries, entire financial systems were built on the stolen labor. That's the historical foundation of the modern global economy, ladies and gentlemen. People treat slavery like it was a moment that ended, but the reality is the system didn't disappear. It evolved and adapted. It went from invisible chains to invisible chains, known as Willie Lynch mentality. So when we talk, so when people ask why did we still talk about reparation? Why are we still talking about reparations? Well, this is because the damage didn't end with slavery; it continued. The effect of the system is still passing down generational wealth from slavery, opportunities, and power. One, once you understand this is a global system, you begin to understand why so many different people of the black world are making claims. While the system was global, the experience and claims are not identical. And that's where the division begins. For example, DAS, which means Descendants of American Slaves slash Freedmen, and FBA, again, which stands for Foundational Black Americans, share the same argument, which is rooted in lineage, a very Pacific history of slavery in the United States, followed by convict leasing, Jim Crow, decades of legalized systematic racism and discrimination, redlining, segregation, and mass incarceration. This wasn't just social exclusion, it was economic, it was policy driven, and it was enforced by the state. Our position is that reparations should be tied to lineage based cash payment from the US government. In other words, this is not a global claim, it's a national one. It's a debt owed specifically to the descendants of enslaved people within the United States. We agree that reparations should be exclusive to our group based on the specific harms done and the legal responsibility of the US government. Okay, now as it pertains to the Caribbeans, they have CARICOM to fight for them. The Caribbean nations have demanded colonial foreign powers such as Britain, France, and the Netherlands. Their argument is rooted in plantation economies, systems that were entire islands were structured around extraction. Enslaved Africans built the wealth, which never stayed in the region. And after emancipation, those economies remain externally controlled, limited long-term development. Their claim is reparations should come from former colonial powers of the economic for the economic damage and underdevelopment they cause after slavery. And I agree. And then there's Africa. Africa needs to again focus on reparation for colonization. Hear me again, for colonization on the continent, the carving up of borders, the restructuring of entire economies to serve external interests, which was European powers. Each group is looking at the same history, but through different experiences. Once you lay out the different claims, once you understand the different histories and the fact that the harm was global, African needs to focus on reparation for colonization. Okay. DAS, FM, and FBA view reparation through lineage-based cash payment from the U.S. government. For others, is about geographic and state responsibility. Where did the harm take place and which government enforced it? Reparation has been discussed for decades in national levels, at regional levels, even at global institutions. For example, HR 40. This is the bill calling for a commission to study and develop reparation proposal for Black Americans. It has been sitting in Congress for over 30 years. That's a shame. That tells you everything you need to know about how power respond when there is no substance unified pressure. We're seeing more non-black voices weighing in deciding who they believe deserve reparations and who doesn't. For example, I ran across a video clip on Instagram of Representative um, Pamela Jayapal. To watch the full video, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. Representative Pamela Jayapal is pushing for immigration agenda that the mainstream media refused to cover, from calling from calling ICE raids, quote, cruel, unquote, to demand reparations for illegal immigrants and to prosecute ICE agents. This agenda is bold and it's moving fast. We break down exactly what she said, what what sh- what she got wrong, and what it means for Black Americans and American citizens who are being overlooked in this conversation. Who really built this country and why Democrat politicians are stumping hard for illegals than they are for their own constituents. I ran a okay. Um, okay, so in the video, she is complaining about the private prison sector, corporations who donated to Trump's campaign, and a heavy investment when it comes to detaining illegal immigrants. Now, mind you, over 20 million illegals have crossed the border under the Biden Harris administration. But she's mad that the Trump administration is deporting illegals as possible, starting with criminals. Remember, Venezuela president emptied the prisons and let them join the caravan to come over here. But she's mad at the Trump administration for allowing the private prisons from making money off detaining illegals. Keep that in mind that she's an immigrant herself. They go hard for their people meaning immigrants. But if they are illegal, then they view them as one of their own. No, notice she did not talk about the horrible prison condition that Black Americans and American citizens have to deal with. Notice that she is not talking about the 100% increase in crime that was happening specifically in sanctuary cities because of this mass influx of illegals. Place like Chicago, New York, California, crimes increased by 100% because of illegal immigrants. She is more concerned about illegal immigrants being detained in private prisons who are making profits, but she is not blaming the Biden Harris administration for allowing over 20 million illegal immigrants crossing over here. Make no mistake about it. DAS FM, descendants of American slaves slash freedmen, built this country from the mud. A lot of these politicians of immigrant backgrounds are bold. She does not speak up for Black Americans. Somalians are not the only ones committing fraud. You have people in the Jewish community committing fraud. Everybody in every race commit fraud. The American empire is going to fall just like Rome. Black Americans have to start pushing for lineage based policies, which is not unconstitutional. Edward Bloom cannot file a lawsuit, and this case will open the doors for us if we can work together and weed out our enemies within. Okay? This is about honoring those who came before us because reparation is not about just about money. It's about acknowledgement, it's about accountability, it's about restoring dignity to people who were denied it in the most brutal ways. Think about it, the millions who never made it across the Middle Passage. Historians estimate that close to 2 million Africans died during the Middle Passage alone. Um, yeah, that's rough. Um, so again, Africa has a claim, the Caribbean has a claim, Black America has a claim, South America has a claim. I see this as different layers approach where different groups pursue different Pacific claims, but under a broader, coordinated framework for global justice where Black Americans continue to push for our national reparations within the United States, where Caribbean nations continue their organizing effort through regional blocs, and where African nations advance claims tied to colonialism and economic extraction. But instead of competing narratives, there is a shared message, a shared language, and a shared pressure strategy. And that's important. The pressure strategy and direction coming from one coordinated global back justice and reparative commission with representatives from all the regions that were impacted. Instead of fragment voices, you have a global coalition. Instead of competing claims, you have reinforcing claims. Instead of confusion, you have clarity. That's all I'm saying. History has shown us time and time again that the groups who win these kind of battles are not always the ones with the strongest moral cases. They are the ones with the strongest strategy, and so many, and so maybe the goal is not to collapse, you know, but to connect them, to align them, and to move with intention. It's about confronting a system that shaped the modern world and finally demanding accountability for it. For example, World War II. After World War II, Jewish communities and the newly established state of Israel pursued reparation from Germany for the atrocity of the Holocaust. Now, on the surface, the moral case was undeniable. Millions have been systematically murdered, displaced, and stripped of their property, their dignity, and their humanity. But what turned that moral case into actual outcome was not just the horror of what happened, it was the strategy behind how the claim was pursued. In 1951, Jewish organizations came together to form what became the Claim Conference, a unified body representing Jewish survivors and communities worldwide. At the same time, the government of Israel positioned itself not just as a victim, but as a state actor with clear political and economic interests. This mattered because instead of fragment voices making emotional appeals, what you had was a centralized structure making coordinated demands. They defined who was eligible, they documented losses, and they qualified the damages not just in human terms, but in economic terms. Property seized, labor stolen, wealth extracted. Everything was translated into a framework that government could not easily dismiss. And then came leverage. This wasn't just about asking Germany to do the right thing, it was about creating pressure. Germany at the time was seeking reintegration into the global economy or into the global community. It needed legitimacy. It needed acceptance, especially from Western powers like the United States. And the reparations issue became tied to that. The message was clear. Accountability was not optional. It was part of Germany's path back to the international system. There was also internal debate and disagreement within Jewish communities about whether to accept reparations at all. Some argued that no amount of money could compensate for the Holocaust. Others fear it would be seen as placing a price on human suffering. But this is important. Despite those differences, a strategic decision was made to move forward with a unified negotiating position, and that unity is what made the difference. In 1952, the the Lexomer Agreement was signed. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word correctly, but that's what I found when I did my research. Germany agreed to pay billions in reparations to Israel and to Holocaust survivors, funding funds that help resettled survivors, build infrastructure, and stabilize a young nation. And those payments didn't stop there. To this day, Germany continues to provide compensation in various forms, the survivors and their descendants. Now, think about that because this wasn't just about what happened, it was about how the case was built, it was about how the claim was organized, it was about how pressure was applied to the right moment in the right way with a unified voice. We can continue debating with each other who qualifies, who deserve what, or we can step back and build something powerful enough to actually force an outcome that serves all of us. Because at the end of the day, this is bigger than one group. It's about whether we can move with clarity, with purpose, and with intention to honor our ancestors and begin the process of healing the wounds of a broken continent and a broken people. Before before I finish this topic, I want to hear from you. Do you believe reparations should be national, global, or something in between? Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Third topic, Fulton County Reparation Task Force released its findings. We're going to discuss the Fulton County Reparation Task Force, which was in Atlanta, Georgia. The full report is a 615-page report on harm done to Black residents in Fulton County. To read the full article, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. For the sake of time, we're going to use the condensed version of on PDF. According to the study, they say it took some years to get this done. Fulton County Reparation Task Force has worked since 2023 to research the account of harm done to Black people who were enslaved there or lived during the Jim Crow era. The group now has an official harm quote harm report unquote, and one of their findings show as much as around $9 billion in today's um, today's money in stolen labor over a decade of slavery in Fulton. Quote, the first year of the harm report study was actually compiling the data, unquote. Quote, we were able to build new data sets, new data sets that actually allowed us to document the number of individuals that were enslaved in Fulton County, the value tied to their person, as well as who were the profiteers of slavery, meaning who were the slave owners, unquote. The six the 615-page harm report was backed by county funding totaling 250,000. It features several charts, diagrams, and dollar amount tied to slavery. 10-year run from 1854 to 1864 in Fulton. Re- re- Research showed the county saw its highest number of enslavers, 761, a year before slavery ended in 1865. The report then transitioned into account of harm like racial terror and lynchings done to black residents during Jim Crow as early as the 1870s. To produce the data, they created two formulas as the foundation of the report. They looked at economic harm experienced by black residents and their descendants, the cost of stolen labor, and the failure to grant recon, recon um, to recompensate can range up to nearly 903 billion from Fulton County alone, unquote. The report started in 2021 and account for the harm done to black Americans who were enslaved there or living during Jim Crow. One of their findings showed as much as 900 billion in today's dollar amount in stolen labor over a decade. So that's how much they made in that county alone. And that's within a 10-year period. They documented the number of individuals that were enslaved in Fulton County, Georgia, and person who profiteered from owning slaves. The report said the county made 250,000. It featured several charts, diagrams, and dollar amounts tied to slavery. 10-year run. The data shows the county saw its highest number of enslaved, 761 a year before the slavery ended. Okay. Now we're going to look at the data from the D, the PDF. To read the full article, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove because that's where I provide my receipts. So the harm report talks about property taxes, court records, jail vote, jail voting, libraries, parks, schools, health, and human services. It says the full report has 21 chapters: profiteers of slavery, convict leasing, jails, chain gangs, property tax, social, political, and economic domination, racial terror, segregation, and inferior county services. All right. So, under profiteers of slavery, taxation on enslaved people as property. So, Fulton County had 74,773. Um, but basically, they made, I'm going to say, $674 million. That was from Fulton County alone. The state of Georgia says 49,316, and within that 10-year period, $1.3 billion. That's how much the state made in today's value. 20% of Fulton County tax revenue value of Black lives stolen labor. 8,000. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna say 8 million. The total is 675 billion. Okay, let's have this conversation. White America say they don't owe us anything. According to this study alone, this is how their people obtained their wealth, by enslaving my people. This is how they became a global power. These white supremacist financial elites set up here at the UN and said, well, it was legal during that time. What our ancestors did. We didn't do anything wrong. We didn't break any international laws. This is why they are trying to whitewash the history books, because they know their people owe all that money they made from slavery, from Fulton County alone. All that money they made came from slave labor, and is passed down because of generational wealth, which proves their ancestors was lazy, not us, because they could have did those things themselves when they came to the New World. They could not have built up their economy without our ancestors. They are only on top because of slave labor from my ancestors, and we will continue to stay on their bumper until we receive our $5 trillion. This should be a wake up call to the global African family. We have all these Europeans walking around freely on the continent, acting like they own Africa and deserve respect until they pay us our reparations. We should not be doing any business with them at all, the ones that was involved. The white supremacist financial elites took the best and brightest from Africa and brought them here to the New World, which is now the United States of America. The reason why the continent is in the shape that it is because of stolen Africans who had talents. The Kai of Africa will get rid of 4 colonial practice, which is holding Africa back. And that's why I want to bring the business over there. And once I do that, then that's going to help improve, first of all, the African economy. So that's what I want to do. That's the whole purpose of me wanting to come there. But I got to get it popping here in America first for credibility. So that's the only thing that's holding me back. At least I get it started here in America. I mean, that could prove that, hey, I was here. We built this stuff together. I would say African immigrants that's over here, they're going to get credit for working with me. So that's the whole reason I want us to work together, to be a part of this. If you look closely at the systems, you will notice something uncomfortable. The court still looks like Europe. The schools still teach a European model. The economy still serves Europe. My question to continental Africans, have Africans decolonized, or did you just inherit the system and keep it running. This is about combating colonialism in Africa. Colonialism was not just about taking land, it was also about redistrib- redesigning entire societies. It reshaped how Africa governs, how it educates, how it trades, how it thinks, and even how it sees itself. Borders were drawn with no regard of African people or their culture. Economies were restructured ex, to ex, hold on, let me getting tongue tied. Economies were restructured to extract wealth, not to build up Africa. Education systems were designed to produce low wage workers, not produce innovators or industrialists. Legal systems were imposed to enforce, control, and dominate, not to deliver justice. And then the colonial powers played they they all of a sudden wanted to give Africa independence. Flags they raised, anthems was written, leaders was took power. The system largely stayed the same. For example, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger finally, after 39 years of so-called independence, they were finally able to kick out the French. My question is, why is Abraham Atari had over 10 assassination attempts on his life by European powers, specifically France? You know, he's not bothering those people. He just want to take back what belongs to them. But they always want to sit up here bugging. So Africa gained was political independence, but not for structural independence that matters because systems shape outcomes. If your legal systems was designed for control, it will struggle to deliver justice. If your educational system was designed for administration, it will struggle to produce innovation. If your economy was designed for extraction of wealth out of Africa, then Africa will struggle to create wealth on the continent. When we look at Africa Day, we talk about underdevelopment, governance, challenge, or dependency. We cannot ignore the foundation of those systems were built on. The question is no longer what did colonialism do to Africa? The question becomes what Africans are choosing to keep. You cannot build a new found you cannot build a new future on an old foundation that was never designed to benefit you. If Africa is serious about transformation, then it has to go beyond independence. It has to confront the systems themselves. Until then, Africa is not fully free. The Kai of Africa will combat four colonial practice that is holding back Africa. Number one is language. Across Africa, the languages of government, business, law, and education are not African languages. They are colonial languages. English, French, Portuguese. In countries like Senegal and Cameroon, they speak French. In Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya, they speak English. Now, again, some will argue that this creates unity and it helps diverse countries' communication. It connects Africa to the global economy. And that's true. But this means that in many African countries, we cannot fully participate in our own native language. We cannot access certain basic opportunities, economic opportunities that creates a silent divide. An elite class who are fluent in colonial languages and the majority who are not. And over time, that divide becomes power because language is not just about communication, language is access. Because language is not just about, yes, it's about, yeah, it's about power. For example, when children are educated in languages, they do not fully understand, it affects learning outcomes, their confidence, their creativity, their critical thinking. It disconnects them from their culture. This is this was not accidental. Colonial systems enslaved in colonial systems elevated European languages deliberately to create a class of Africans who could operate within the system but not necessarily transform it. And today, that structure still exists. So the question becomes, can Africa's society truly develop when the majority cannot fully access the language of power? Or is it time to rethink what language leadership, governance, and education should actually look like? The second practice that is holding Africa back is the classroom. Across much of Africa, the educational system still follows a structural design during colonial rule. The curriculum, the teaching styles, the exam system, even when it considered vulnerable knowledge. And at its core, that system had one purpose: to produce workers for Western economies, clerks, administrators, interpreters, people who could read and write and follow instruction, but not critical thinkers who question the system or build a new one. The colonial administration is gone, but the structure of education largely remains. Students students are still trained to pass exams, not to solve critical problems, to memorize, not to innovate, to seek jobs, not to create them. Millions of young Africans graduate every year with degrees and certificates, but without opportunities. And it's not because they are not smart, it's because they are prepared for a system that no longer exists, or a system that was never designed for them. How much African history do students actually learn? How much of the curriculum reflects local realities, industry, or possibility? Instead, many are still studying frameworks, theories, and case studies that are rooted in Europe, often with little connection to the environment that they live in. Education is not just about knowledge, education is about direction. It tells a society what to value, what to build, what to aspire to. So if the system is still pointing outward, the development will always feel like something that happened somewhere else. And this is where Africa has to make a decision. Do we keep redefining a system that was imposed on us, or do we design our own system that will serve our interests? The third practice is that is holding Africa back is the map that never made sense. Look at the borders across the African map. Every one of them were drawn during the Berlin Conference, not by Africans, but by European powers sitting in a room playing God, dividing up our continent with no regard to ethnic groups, no regard for culture, no regard for existing kingdoms. Those lines all of a sudden becomes countries, community, communities that had lived together for centuries split across multiple countries, completely different ethnic groups forced into the same state. Nation built not on shared identity but on colonial convenience. Many conflicts that we are seeing, whether in the Sahel or in the Central Africa, can be traced back to these artificial borders. When a country is not built on shared foundation, nation building becomes hard, trust becomes fragile, identity becomes contested, and governance become complicated. It was designed for control. How do you build unity on a foundation that was designed to divide? If Africa is serious about trade, about movement and shared growth, it has to confront the reality of the map. The fourth practice that is holding Africa back and and Gurkha of Africa is willing to help, fight against, is the colonial tax that never ended. Many parts of Africa are not just dealing with the legacy of colonial systems, they are literally still tied to them financially. I'm talking about the CFA franc system, which is used by several countries in West and Central Africa, including Senegal, Cameroon, etc. Now, on paper, this is presented as a stable currency system pegged to the euro backed by France, designed to ensure uh, in- low inflation and monetary stability. This system did not start as partnership. It started during colonial rule, and for decades, countries using the CFA franc were required to deposit a significant portion of their foreign reserve with the French treasury. Independent nations holding their reserves in another country. Some reforms have been made over time. The rule have sort of changed. The structure has revolved, but the core question remains: why are African economies still tied to a monetary system designed during colonialism? Because currency is not just money, currency is power. It determines how you control inflation, how you respond to crisis, how you compete globally, but ultimately how you shape your economic future. So when that system is limited or shared in ways that are not fully sovereign, it raises serious questions about independence. And this is why the CFA franc has been one of the most controversial economic issues on the continent. It limits growth, constrain policies, and maintain dependency. And in recent years, we we've seen shifts. A the AES countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, have begun openly rejecting these ties to these systems as part of a broader push for sovereignty. And they have launched a new currency because this is not about economics, it's about control. It's about dignity. It's about the ability to decide your own future. So the question we we have to ask is, can a nation be truly independent if it does not fully control its own currency? The legal system inherited, the language inherited, the education inherited, the borders inherited, the economic structure inherited, the currency still tied to colonial roots. So the question is no longer whether colonialism had an impact. We can see that. The question is that what are we going to do about it, global African family? Africa needs to refine its constitution and allow DAS FM, descendants of American slaves slash freedmen, to have dual citizenship and land in exchange for our talents and skills, which will help improve the African economy. We also have to reject our justice system. Let me say that again. We also have to reclaim our justice system and make it reflect Africa's culture instead of European culture. This will help make African communities more accessible, more affordable, and more rooted in the realities of the people. Blending the best of modern law with indigenous systems that prioritize restitution, not just punishment. Gurkha of Africa would focus on language inclusion. Imagine a system where citizens can fully engage in governance, education, and law in languages that are actually understood, where languages is no longer a barrier to participation, but a bridge to empowerment. Third, education overhaul. shifting from memorization to innovation, from producing job seekers to producing builders. Because if ever we need builders on the continent, it's now. Africa need builders. We need to align what is taught with where Africa is going, not where it's been. And finally, economic restructuring, moving from extraction to production, from exporting raw material to building in industries, um, manufac- manufacturing, from dependency to ownership, and obtaining financial sovereignty, reimagining systems like the CFA Frank, and asking hard questions about control, flexibility, and long term growth, and a mindset shift, because decolonization is not just structural, it is also psychological. It requires us to stop seeking inherited systems as untouchable and start seeing them as tools, tools that can and should be redesigned. So if Africa is going to rise, she must build systems that are designed for her own realities, for her own people, and most importantly, for her future. And that is perhaps the biggest challenges facing the continent in the 21st century. Because without control of our systems, your legal systems, your education, your economy, your your currency, then you don't control nothing. And imagine that you negotiate it, but you don't own it. For example, China, a few decades went from poverty to becoming one of the most powerful economies in the world. China did not rise by copying the world. China rose by designing its own systems. It engaged globally, but it was also on its own terms. It controlled its currency. It protected its industries. It invested heavily in education, especially in science, engineering, and manufacturing. It used policy strategy to build capacity, not dependency. It asked what works for us, and then it built around it. No country develops by outsourcing control of its system. It develops by owning them, designing them, refining them, protecting them. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Thank you for listening to our audio podcast and for joining us on the stream. We greatly appreciate it. I need you all to support our film project so that we can move Grikim to the next level, and that is the big screen, to let the Black world know who we are and what we're trying to do for our people. DAS, FM, Descendants of American Slaves slash Freedmen. Quote, Hood Liberator made in Chicago. The war against Willie Lynch begins, unquote. You can be a part of this historic docudrama by contributing to our crowdfunding page, which are on our GoFundMe page, our Buy Me a Coffee page, or our PayPal Giving Fund page, which will help fund marketing, promotion, clearance, legal, and general expenses. Thank you for listening to our YouTube live or replay. If you are new to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast, welcome to our safe space where we discuss Black issues and African issues throughout the diaspora. We do this every week. This will conclude our audio podcast for today. Like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next episode. Peace and blessings. Now, before I go, I want to teach my listeners how to navigate. All right? That's important. So, bear with me. All right, so I'm right here. This is my Medium page. So I'm bringing the cursor at the top. So right there where it says it's Manuel, so MANWELL online dot medium.com. So that's how you would find me. All right. And see right here where I have where it says pin. I always post my latest speech. So I'm going to click on here, right? That's what you would do. Also right here where it says follow, where I have this arrow, the cursor, just hit that, please. That would be very appreciative. Now, so what I'm doing, I'm going all the way down. Yeah, this is a lot of information, ladies and gentlemen, because I take the stuff serious. I'm not on here playing games. Um, and again, I don't want to just be running off at the mouth. I want to have smart and brave people that's going to help me run this thing so that way we can help our people rather than just sitting up here complaining about the white man, complaining about the government. And I want to bring this over to the African continent because they need it. I want to create jobs in South Africa and in all the other African nations that I mentioned, the 10. But we got to get it popping here in America first for credibility so I can do my job when I come over there. Just speed things up. So when I say show and prove, this is my receipt, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, this is the lady I was talking about, Representative Pamela J.L. Paul on Instagram. Click on that so you can check that out. This is the report, that I got through reading about. So this is the actual article right here. So I'm not going to pull it because if I pull it up, you're not going to be able to see it for some reason. But at least, I can show it to you this way. So I'm trying to guide you. This is the PDF. You can look at it that way. This is the article, from The Guardian about Germany, paying Nambia. It's important that continental Africans get behind Nambia. Don't focus on what's going on with what happened with the slave trade, because we're going to handle that over here. And then the people that's in the Caribbeans, they got CARICOM. And people in Latin America or Brazil, they're going to fight for their stuff. So you all, is majority of you all that's on the continent, get behind that. And again, this is another, article that you need to look at. It's important. It's talking about black women complain about Latinos, trying to stop them from getting jobs. Well, wouldn't have to work with them if we had this business up and running, and if Chicago was, in other I would say cities. That's what I'm saying. This is, we don't want to work together, Black Americans. So it is what it is. We have to connect with those that's like-minded. The ones that ain't about Jack, shoot, just leave them alone. That's all I can say. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just trying to scroll down here. This is an article I'd like for y'all to check out. It says, From Watts to DC, how 500 Black neighborhood vanished in 45 years. All because of gentrification. All because Black Americans don't work together. And this is what happens. 500 Black neighborhoods. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we up against. We gotta come against that slave mentality. Otherwise, we're gonna get wiped out here in America. Because eventually the Democrats is gonna win the White House. They're gonna open up those borders again. Just saying. So I'm scrolling down. . And so this is, I always post this a lot. My main sources, Black women. It talks about, look, Black women. A Zoom call, 44,000 Black women raise 1.5 million for Kamala Harris. If Black women here in America on my friends list would help us raise that $250,000 for this film project, we can do things. We can make an impact. Again, I've been pushing this for 34 years. So I want you to know I've been trying here. This is why I have it on YouTube, and this is why I'm recording it. This is why I created this platform, so you can see it. Trying to do something productive. Trying to get Black people involved, like-minded Black people involved. If it takes African immigrants to get on board to work with me, so be it. This is why I'm doing all this. Median wealth of Black Americans will fall to zero by 2053. Look at that article, ladies and gentlemen. And again, this is what Black women love to talk about, brag about being part of the 92%. You voted for that sister I talked about. My gosh, I forgot the lady's name. I think it's Jasmine Crockett. And she lost election. She was stumping hard for those illegals. They didn't come through for her. Just imagine if she was stumping hard for Black Americans. But hey, it is what it is. We got to push these Black politicians aside. If we're not gonna vote for them. Leave those people alone. They're in the pockets of the white supremacist financial elites. Talk about Dr. King, this is his way of, he didn't say the word reparation, but he said we got to come collect our check. That's reparations, ladies and gentlemen. Benign and neglect. Read this so you'll know what that's all about. This stuff has been out since the 70s. This is what these Democrats, and the Republicans, but especially Democrats, practice. Benign and neglect against Black Americans. That's not cool, but they want us to vote for them. And here's my credibility. Most of all, this is where you can get my book, ladies and gentlemen. Read my story first. Help me get that book on that bestsellers list so I can move from behind this computer. This is our GoFundMe page. This is our PayPal Giving Fund page. Buy me a coffee page. Here's my virtual store right here on Teespring. Okay? Most of all, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to this is my YouTube page right here. Please subscribe there. If you want to come on here, to anybody who want to debate me, bring it on. All I ask you to do is send me your email address. Let me know you want to come on this show to debate me, and let's make that happen. Get on camera and do it. I challenge anybody in the United States of America, especially if you're on my friends list, because I'm standing on principles. I ain't changing nothing on my my stance. So if you want to debate me, that's fine. Put me to shame. Ain't no shame over here. I'm trying to do something. And my stuff is legal. My business is legal. Don't have to run from the cops. You know what I'm saying? We go into the devil's stronghold, the Black ghetto, and just do the best that we can to work with Black families that want more out of life. And I'm letting you know up front, again, I want that thumbprint. I want you to sign the community pledge and pass our criminal background check. Those that might, let's say, have a record and all that kind of stuff, you'll go through our second chance program. We have that too for um, people of with nonviolent crimes. Okay, ex-offenders of nonviolent crimes, former gang members, and homeless individuals. That's what we're gonna have that second chance program. Because I'm willing to work with you. As long as you step to me with clean hands. Anybody step to me with a funky attitude, you ain't gonna be part of my business. This is membership based, and I ain't dealing with you. That being said, thank you all for listening, and just help me make this audio podcast go viral so I can move this thing forward. Again, I'm doing the best that I can. It takes a team to make a dream work, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I want to be remembered for. I'm trying to do something, not just some dude just sitting up, running off at the mouth and ain't doing jack. All right? Okay.